Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are looking at one of the absolutely most captivating geographical, historical, and architectural mysteries of the world. It's this wild phenomenon that seamlessly weaves together ancient cartography, deeply held religious tradition, and statistical probability all into one massive planetary-scale puzzle. And really, it challenges how we as humans seek out and interpret patterns in the world around us.
Now, to kick things off, I want you to consider something for a second. What could possibly connect a harsh, jagged island off the remote coast of Ireland, a towering alpine peak in Italy, and an ancient monastery clinging to a mountain in Israel? I mean, these locations are separated by completely distinct cultures, totally diverse topographies, and thousands of kilometers. Yet, as we're about to see, they are tethered together by an invisible, nearly perfect thread.
Section 1. The Mystery of the Line, a geographic puzzle.
What's really interesting here is the sheer span of these 7 distinct historical sanctuaries. We start out in the harsh Atlantic at Skellig Michael in Ireland, leap over to the tidal islands of Cornwall and Normandy, climb the heights of the Italian Alps and southern Italian caves, cross the Aegean Sea to Greece, and finally land at the Stella Maris Monastery on Mount Carmel in Israel. Every single one of these sites is dedicated to the exact same celestial figure, and they stretch from the edge of the Atlantic Ocean all the way to the Holy Land.
But it's not just the locations themselves, it's how they actually sit on a map. These 7 sites span an incredible 4,190 kilometers. To put that into perspective, that is basically like driving from New York to Los Angeles. And they aren't just scattered randomly. They form an alignment known in lore as the Line of St. Michael, or perhaps more dramatically, the Sword of St. Michael.
Let's look at the actual geographical attributes of this alignment. It stretches northwest to southeast, and get this, it has a deviation of only about 0.3 to 1% from a mathematically perfect straight line. The orientation sits at roughly 60 degrees, and crucially, if you look up at the sky, it aligns astronomically with both the sunset at the summer solstice and the sunrise on May 8th, which traditionally marks the feast day of St. Michael. According to medieval legend, this incredibly precise line across the earth traces the exact path of the blow with which the archangel struck the devil, casting him from heaven.
Section 2. Who is St. Michael, the heavenly guardian?
So who actually is this figure? Well, the name Michael literally translates from Hebrew as a rhetorical question, who is like God? In Latin, you'll see this as quis ut Deus. It represents a battle cry of humility against pride. And it's really crucial to note here that Michael is not a canonized human saint who lived an earthly life. He is revered as a pure spirit, an archangel, recognized across Christian, Jewish, and Islamic traditions as a formidable heavenly guardian.
If we look at scriptural texts like the books of Daniel and Revelation, tradition gives him 4 primary functions. First, he's the ultimate defender of the faithful. Second, he's literally the leader of the heavenly army against demonic forces. Third, he acts as the weigher of souls at the hour of judgment. You'll often see him depicted in art holding a set of scales. And finally, he serves as an angel of death, protecting and guiding souls in their final moments. He is essentially the ultimate spiritual warrior in religious lore.
Section 3. Apparitions and miracles, historical encounters. Now let's move along and see how this builds over time. The lore of St. Michael isn't just abstract theology. It's deeply tied to specific historical moments and places. For instance, in 490 AD, tradition holds he appeared in a cave in southern Italy. In 590, during a devastating plague in Rome, he reportedly appeared sheathing his sword right above Hadrian's mausoleum, signaling the end of the disease. In 708, he is said to have instructed a bishop to build an abbey on a rocky tidal island in France, what we all now know as the breathtaking Mont Saint-Michel. And later, in 1631, lore claims he revealed a healing spring in Mexico. These specific milestones of faith literally shaped the landscape, prompting ancient people to build massive stone structures exactly where they believed heaven touched earth. To really grasp the awe surrounding these sites, just listen to this quote attributed to that 490 AD apparition at Monte Sangelo. He reportedly told the local bishop with resounding authority, "I am Michael the Archangel, and am always in the presence of God. I chose the cave as sacred to me." Following this event, the bishop was told he didn't even need to consecrate the site because the archangel already had. To this very day, it remains the only Catholic house of worship supposedly never consecrated by a human hand.
Section 4. Prayers and Devotions, Spiritual Armor.
Moving from these monumental buildings to personal daily devotions, one of the most intricate practices to emerge is the St. Michael Chaplet. This actually originated from a 1751 vision by a Portuguese Carmelite nun named Sister Antonia de Ostenoch. The chaplet is a highly structured, step-by-step devotion. It moves from an opening act of contrition through 9 distinct salutations honoring different angelic ranks and wraps up with concluding prayers honoring specific archangels. Honestly, it's almost military in its precision.
And within that chaplet, there are 9 specific angelic choirs invoked, ranging all the way from the highest seraphim down to the angels. According to the lore of the vision, the entire purpose of this chaplet is to secure a spiritual escort consisting of 1 angel from each of these 9 choirs for the believer when they approach communion.
So the crucial point here is how these ancient traditions evolved into modern practices. Fast forward to 1886, and Pope Leo XIII reportedly had this absolutely terrifying vision of demonic forces assailing the church. In response, he composed a specific, deeply urgent prayer. This 19th century vision fundamentally shaped modern Catholic devotions regarding spiritual warfare.
And that resulted in this famous text, St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. Because of the fierce, highly protective nature of this lore, St. Michael naturally became the patron of police officers, soldiers, paramedics, and everyday believers who feel they are facing profound spiritual distress or danger.
Section 5. Coincidence or divine design? Science meets faith.
Okay, let's bring this full circle back to the map. Interestingly, historians point out that the roots of this alignment might actually predate Christianity entirely. A French scholar named Jean Richer suggested this axis is really a reappropriation of a much older sacred geography. Long before these monasteries were built, temples dedicated to the Greek sun god Apollo sat along a very similar alignment. What we might be seeing here is the historical transformation of places dedicated to a pagan god of light into sanctuaries for a Christian warrior of light. It's basically a literal rewriting of the map.
Plus, we have to acknowledge that human planning absolutely played a role in the line's precision. Take the spectacular Sacra di San Michele in the Italian Alps, for example. It wasn't just built there by chance. It was deliberately built around the year 1000 AD to sit exactly halfway between Mont Saint-Michel in France and the Cay Sanctuary in southern Italy. It was engineered to be a physical milestone for pilgrims traveling the Via del Angelo, which just proves that medieval architects were capable of astonishing geographical coordination way before the invention of GPS.
And this brilliantly illustrates the tension at the heart of this whole topic. On the one hand, you have believers pointing to the stunning alignment with the summer solstice, and the May 8th sunrise is clear evidence of divine mathematical design. But then on the flip side, skeptics, like astrophysicist Luca Amendola, point out that the line actually deviates by 14 to 42 kilometers in certain spots. Given that there are literally hundreds of shrines dedicated to St. Michael scattered across Europe, drawing a line that connects a few of them is, statistically speaking, highly probable. It's this fascinating balancing act between divine revelation and sheer geographical coincidence.
So, what does this all mean? We are left with this pretty massive question to ponder. Is this 4,000-kilometer alignment an actual earthly scar tracing the strike of a celestial sword, guided by divine mathematics? Or is it just a breathtaking testament to human pattern recognition, statistics, and the sheer scale of ancient pilgrimage routes? Are we discovering meaning on the map, or are we the ones drawing the lines? Whatever you conclude, the intersection of cartography, deep history, and human faith here is absolutely incredible. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.